all the viewers. Today's session of Tourism and Hospitality Research, we will be discussing an important concept of type 1 and type 2 errors in research. So what is this type 1 and type 2 error? As you can see in this picture, I have depicted type 1 with alpha and type 2 is depicted with beta. This is the way we depict them in research. And these two errors are affected by four major factors. The first being the sample size, second is significance level, third is effect size, and the fourth is statistical power. So we are going to discuss a little bit about each one of them so that we understand the importance of controlling these errors in our research. These errors might affect your results. So first we need to understand that why do we do research and how do we do research. As I have explained in my previous videos also, that for inferring the results on the population, we take some samples from the population which are known as respondents, and we conduct a study upon those respondents. And once we analyze the data gathered from those respondents, we infer those results for the entire population from which these respondents were taken. So this is the objective of doing research. In this, the sample size does matter a lot. But again, if we don't know what are these errors which can affect our results, then we might not understand how to control them or how to mitigate these errors. So let me give you an example and then we will come back to this slide. So here in this example, I have stated that the null hypothesis is a person does not have COVID-19, and the alternate hypothesis is a person does have COVID-19. So to understand it better, type 1 error signifies that you mistakenly reject the null hypothesis when it shouldn't be rejected. So what do you infer out of this? It is a false positive result. That means you will infer that a person does have COVID-19 though the person did not have it. So this is known as type 1 error. When I talk about type 2 error, I failed to reject the null hypothesis when it was supposed to be rejected. So in this case, I will say that a person does not have COVID-19 although he had COVID-19. This is known as false negative. So I hope you will remember it forever now, that what is type 1 and what is type 2 error. Now let us go back to the previous slide and understand that in statistics, errors of type 1 and type 2 denote the mistakes that might emerge when drawing conclusions from hypotheses, which are drawn upon the analysis of sample data. Comprehending these errors is imperative for the accurate interpretation of the hypothesis testing outcomes. They indicate inconsistencies between the observed or the calculated value and the expected or the actual value. So now let us discuss these 4 reasons or 4 factors which contribute to type 1 and type 2 errors. The first one is sample size. As you will increase the sample size, you must have heard many researchers, many academicians, many mentors who guide you that if you will increase your sample size, your type 1 and type 2 error will automatically reduce. But it is advisable not to go beyond a certain limit in sample size, because if it will reduce type 1 and type 2 error, it will give you a significance level which will provide you an understanding that your results are matching with the expected outcome or the actual outcome, which might not be true. So it is not advisable to just increase your sample size without any limits. Then we talk about the significance level, which is alpha. Usually in our studies, we keep it 0.05, which means that we are doing a study on 95% confidence interval. This means that 95% of the times, whatever results we are getting from the data analysis will be matching with the actual or expected results which exist in our population. So we denote alpha as 0.05. How did we get this 0.05? So if we are 95% confident and 5% is the uncertainty, 5 divided by 100 gives you 0.05. It is as simple as that. And this is the significance level. So it is defined as the probability of committing type 1 error. So when significance level will go down, type 1 error will also go down. But type 2 error will rise, because type 2 error is beta. So when one error will decrease, the other will increase. They are in inverse proportion to each other in the case of significance level. Then we talk about the effect size, which is measured using Cohen's d. When do we use Cohen's d for measuring the effect size? It measures the size of difference between two groups. When we have two groups and we want to study the difference between those two groups, we measure the effect size through Cohen's d and Pearson's R, which stands for correlation. This small r represents correlation. It measures the strength of relationship between two variables. So now, if the effect size is less, type 2 error will increase. Statistical power, which is 1 minus beta. Beta stands for type 2 error. So as you see, when the power will increase, type 2 error will decrease. So I hope now you understand what is type 1 and type 2 error, and you know the important factors which contribute to these type of errors. I will be talking more about how to control these errors while you are framing your sample size, You are determining your sample size through a well-known software which is known as GPower in the subsequent videos. Basically, GPower asks for significance level, effect size, and power. When you input these three things, after selecting the type of test, a t-test or a f-test, then you have to specify these three thresholds: significance level, effect size, and statistical power. It will give you the sample size, a priori sample size. A priori means before collecting the data, you will have an estimate of the minimum sample size which is required to conduct your study. These are some of the useful resources which I recommend you to download, read, to know more about type 1 and type 2 errors. I hope the video was quite informative and interesting for all of you. See you next time with some more great content. Thanks for watching. Keep watching.